Okay, so we just got our thermal R&D 3-inch exhaust in for the Fiesta ST. Just cracked open the lid of it. This is very well packed. Wow. I guess they just forgot what a 3-inch exhaust looked like. Dang. Yeah, this is some big pipe. So, let's see what we have. Got the cross brace. Supply another one, I think, to give you a little more clearance. It also has a hole in it for one of the exhaust mounts. A bag full of clamps, and I believe, yep, the exhaust mount's in there. Here's our adapter that takes it down from 3-inch to the stock. I'm not sure if the downpipe's 2.5 or 2.25. I think it's 2.5 the downpipe. And then we have our tips, nice and well packed. Oops, yeah, another license plate frame apparently, and our resonator and our main pipe. And the biggest thing I want to check right now before I start tearing things apart is that I don't appear, this is packed really well. Do you have any, oh, let's see, they bent. Sorry, bent ends. Nope. And this guy looked good. And luckily the end tips are padded. And this guy looks good. So, all right. Good packing. Looks like no damage. It's a good start. So we're gonna go ahead and get the car up and start tearing out the pseudo custom exhaust. Just wanted to mention that I ordered this thermal R&D exhaust from Ron at Whoosh, and he was kind enough to throw in 3 PowerFlex exhaust hangers with the kit. So whenever I can, I buy parts from Ron. He does a lot to support the community, and I'd highly recommend it. He has great prices. He actually has a discount code for people that are on the Fiesta ST forum, and always delivers quick. And I've never had an issue with any product I've ever bought from him, so highly recommend it. So now that we have the car completely safe in the air, I put it in first gear, used ramps to get the front up, and then I jacked up each side very slowly. And I have both the jack just slightly loose, I mean the pistons tight, but have it just slightly released, and then the jack stands carrying the load. So jacks are there just as a precautionary. I don't want this thing to fall on me. So it's 13 millimeter for this cross brace, so we're going to take that out, and it's 15 millimeter for the bolts that mate to the downpipe. So we're going to release all the bolts. I'm not going to unscrew the downpipe ones completely. I'm going to just break them loose, because then I'm going to have to go ahead and take my Sawzall. And since this is a complete welded system, similar to how the stock one is, I'm going to have to cut it back here to give me enough room to drag it out. I could probably, since it doesn't have a resonator, I could probably drag it out, but this thing's got a leak in it anyway. And I'll just try to make a clean cut in case I can give it to somebody that wants to put a clamp on it. Okay, after fighting with it for a little bit, we got it out. Oh, sorry, that's a horrible noise. You can see, cut the exhaust right there. I took that cross member bracket off, and we got it all out. Just be careful when you're cutting it. I would try to keep to like a 6-inch blade so you don't get into your fuel tank under there. Nice 6-inch blade, put the guard right up against it. Chances are you're not gonna come anywhere near it, so that's what I went with. So we're gonna drag this all out from under here and start bringing in the pieces for the thermal R&D exhaust. So I just wanted to point out another good reason not to go with the kind of run-of-the-mill exhaust shop setup. You can see right here, when they use that mandrel bender, actually it's not a mandrel bender, it's just like a swage, I'm sure if it's a swage bender, I don't know what you really call it, but it basically clamps the pipe and necks it down for the bend. You see right here, same deal. It's 2.5-inch pipe, and it necks down probably to something like 2.25 through that bend. So you think you've got a bigger exhaust tube, but in the end, you got all these bumps in it, these restrictions in flow. So you may be making your situation worse than better. So anyway, another reason not to do that and just go with a proper exhaust. Okay, so we have the first part of the new cat back. We got it on this piece of cardboard, so I'm gonna scratch it all up. And I've got the adapter right here and my first hanger. So I'll put the hanger on, get the adapter loosely fit, and then I'm gonna get the cross member bracket because it bolts in, or actually there's a hanger on it. I guess it's more of a rest that this side mounts into. So I'm gonna try to get that on there so I can kind of get this whole thing supported. And I got a handy dandy box right here to help me out, so I'll see how this goes. So if any of you guys, when you're swapping out your exhaust, ever have the misfortune that some others of myself have had, of having the bolts on the factory cat get kind of galled up. I think mine was mostly due to the fact that the shop that had done the custom exhaust had welded right next to the flange, and there was slag on the bolts and on the nuts. So I think that combined with some just 10K of driving made them pretty bad. Thread size is 10 millimeter by 1.5, which is a coarse 10 millimeter. You get yourself a tap that's 10 millimeter by a die. It's 10 millimeter by 1.5 and a 1-inch deep socket. And tap will save you, or sorry, die. I always call these taps for some reason, but it's a die. Die will save you. So I cleaned up the threads, got some new 10 millimeter nuts, and we're gonna go ahead and start putting the sections back in again. So this keeps being quite a challenging process. The stock gasket on the downpipe is this thin, I think it's copper. It's a nice type of gasket, but it requires the mating flanges to be completely true. Like pretty much they need to be decked after they're welded. So when I bolted up, got all my threads fixed, bolted that little adapter pipe up, turns out I could actually see a gap of light between the pipes, because when the thermal R&D adapter is probably welded, I'm sure it buckles just a little bit. It's not quite true. So luckily my AutoZone had, this is actually for a Subaru 2.5 liter. Oh, it's a J257 engine. Anyway, this matches the size. It's a thicker, kind of crushable exhaust gasket. Hoping this will work. Here's the part number if you want to get a gasket. I'm sure that you can buy the ones from Cobb or whoever, but we'll see. This should work. It's slightly larger in diameter, which is nice too. Just ever so slightly. This guy's right about 2 inches, maybe a hair more. This is probably like 2 1/4, maybe. So hopefully this will seal it up. So that gasket that I showed earlier ended up sealing up really well. It's going to be hard to tell. I'm running out of daylight due to the little challenges I've had here and there with this, but yeah, you really can't tell very well. But it sealed up real nice, and the extra diameter actually matches this setup perfectly. So you would want something that's closer to what I think a 2.5 inch size gasket, but whatever part number I had on there, that sucker is perfect if you're using the factory downpipe. So anyway, I use this box over here to prop up the first resonator section. I put the clamp on the adapter section, slid this guy in, and then the tricky part is you've got to get this cross brace up there to kind of hold everything together. This pipe's just going to drop right out. So first thing is put your little isolator on the pipe itself. Then basically you just have to grab the plate and pipe in one hand and nuts in the other and hold it up there and thread them in if you don't have a second person. Another person would be real helpful for this. So anyway, we got this guy in. I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the other sections of pipes lined up. I'm not going to tighten anything just yet because I want to get everything lined up properly. Sorry again for the lack of light. This thing project ran a lot longer than I was expecting. So we've got our PowerFlex hangers on the main muffler. You can see we've got our elbow up there with the sleeve on, and I've got everything again on cardboard so it doesn't get all torn up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put the muffler up and get it on the hangers, and then bring the elbow pipe up to it and put the clamp on. And then we're going to put the tip on the outside and start tightening all the clamps down, try to get everything lined up nice. The install is going a lot easier than, actually I thought the install was going to be a lot harder than it is. So far the hardest part was just getting that plate lined up with one person, but everything else is going pretty easy so far, knock on wood. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so we have the muffler and the bend section connected. It's the it's kind of a ball joint here. This thing, see if we can get light on it. This thing is a pain to get on because you have to have the bolt out of it to get around, and then with two hands it's a real challenge to clamp this and hold this guy in place while you thread it in. You definitely want some kind of rigged up support for this while you're putting it all together. We also have, let's see if I can get some light without washing it out. We've got the, pretty good view here. Got the muffler up in here. I'll get a better view from the other side, but yeah, there it is. Got the muffler up in. I haven't put the tip on yet because I want to get some of these clamps tightened a little bit, so especially so this elbow will stay up approximately where I want it. You don't really want to tuck it all the way up in against the heat shield. There's also this e-brake line, but you want to get it up there pretty good. And so yeah, I'm going to start tightening down those main clamps. Not completely, but get them a little bit tight so things are gripping and holding in place, and we'll start lining everything up. So we have everything roughly tightened up, and you can see that the exhaust tips aren't quite centered. So I'm going to play around with the a ball joint under here. Let's see if I can slip it one way or another. So I think I'm going to try to, so I want to get them towards me, towards the outside of the car. So I think I'm going to try to push it in a little bit. See if I can angle it a little bit more. I doubt I'll get much more angle out of it. Everything else is pretty good. Feel pretty good about the height here and the routing. I may try to draw it up a little bit closer in, but there is a part of the heat shield right here that gets a little bit closer. Not too bad though. So yeah, I may try to draw it up a little bit more, but again, I don't want to bang into it either. So you can see it's almost laying there a little bit on the on that bracket, so I'm not quite sure how much I can really do there. It's got a little bit of a gap. So anyway, sorry, I think I probably got the camera out of focus. So we'll play around with the bolts, little clamps, tighten things up, and see if we can get a little more centered. But we're pretty much done. And the install itself, not bad if you don't have any issues with the downpipe bolts and if you have a gasket. Okay, so this wasn't the most detailed install video, but there's a lot of challenges with this installation. Funny enough, it wasn't anything to do with the product itself. This thermal R&D catback, actually, when it was time to install the part itself, went on pretty dang easy. It's probably only like 40 minutes to get it on, and that was really being obsessive with tightening everything and making sure everything was lined up. You know, the big deal was if you're going to reuse the factory downpipe, make sure that you get these bolts up here lubed up as good as you can. And there's a good chance that you may damage them a little coming out. So you may want to have a 10mm by 1.5 die on hand just to clean them up, and some new nuts. 10mm by 1.5, which is coarse 10mm. So that was part of it. You're going to want to make sure you get a new gasket, similar to the one I showed the part number for from Felpro. I bought it at AutoZone. And that was the only issues. Everything else went on nice. See, it's a real nice setup. I'll go around to the back. So we have the tips on right here. Get the flashlight on the ground. Some light into the car. Okay, see if we can get some better light on it. It's hard because it's kind of dark out. I'll try to get another video during the day and get a sound clip tomorrow. Yeah, you can't see the tips so well. There we go. The other thing that's kind of a bummer is the Thermal R&D logo. It's kind of a little messed up. I think when they screen printed it, it wasn't all that perfect, but not a big deal. Some people complain about these. I like these tips. I think they're real nice. You can see under here. Muffler's real nice. Nice stainless. Okay, so we're all wrapped up. Probably gonna go ahead and do a quick sound clip here. Once I get it on the ground. I really want to fire it up with it in the air. But yeah, I'm real satisfied. Everything went together real nice. Real nice kit. I mean, we'll see how it holds up over time, but I definitely recommend, based on what I've seen so far, recommend this Thermal R&D exhaust for the Fiesta ST. Okay, so we're going to try to grab a cold start. This is the first time I've fired this up, so this will be interesting. Not sure how well the phone's catching it in the camera, but it definitely has a nice tone. It's not obnoxious. It's not really overly loud. Give it a minute or so. Let it warm up just a little bit, and then probably give it a couple of revs. Let's look at that tailpipe. See it? Yeah, it looks like I got it pretty straight. Let's give it a couple of revs. That's as much as I'm going to rev it up right now with the engine still being cold. So we'll go ahead and get some better sound clips in a day or so after it breaks in a little bit. But hope this helps people out. Like I said, the worst part about the install is getting the old out and getting it prepped. Getting quality exhaust like this in, it's no problem.